Hi, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. Let's figure out what I'm going to read for the month of March. Today I made a TBR jar and they all are cute and in this little mug, but I severely underestimated how many books I had, not only my physical TBR on the shelves behind me, but I also added some things like past due NetGalley reviews, books that are just like on my Kindle that have been sitting there for a while. So I've got this bigger jar that I normally use for like sourdough starter, and I'm just gonna. Ugh, that's so much. That's so much. Eventually, I want to find like some sort of cuter bookish jar to stick these in, and maybe one that's not clear so that I can't see like the titles on the side, because you can a little bit. But I got this idea. Well, I've had a TBR jar before, and in fact, I think on like my OG videos back in like 2018, if you want to scroll back that far, I don't recommend. They're not very good. I believe I was using one at that time, but it's been a while since I've had a TBR jar, and it's mostly because it didn't work for me back then, because I would try to make a TBR for the entire month and that would be all I could read. But I'm a mood reader and that doesn't work very well for me. And I saw Heather's video for this month and I was like, oh, you know what? I was like, that's smart. She just picked, essentially she's like, I've read X amount of books the last few months, so I'll pick essentially like half or a quarter of that amount from the TBR jar. And I think I'm going to do the same thing, because I know there are some KU reads coming out this month that I'm going to want to read, or coming out in March. I have some NetGalley arcs that I need to get through that are like those books come out in March. So I already know, like, I have probably 5 or 6 books on my radar for the month already. So it wouldn't make sense for me to go, okay, well, I've been reading in an average of 12 books a month for the last couple months. It wouldn't make sense for me to pick all 12 out of this. Now, some of those books are in here anyway, just in case I don't get to them, but I don't know. I figured this would be fun. I think what I'm going to do is pick 4 from here and see if I get to them by the end of the month. There are some pretty thick fantasy books in here and a couple of hard-hitting nonfictions as well. And so I'm not going to make myself have read them by the end of the month, just because some of them were like literally 900 pages long. But I do want to be actively reading them throughout the month and like earnestly giving it a shot, rather than continuing to let it intimidate me on my shelf. So here we go. Okay. First up is The Black Flamingo. That's a YA book, I think. Yeah, here it is. This has been on my shelf forever. This is by Dean Atta. It says, Michael is a mixed-race gay teen growing up in London. All his life, he navigated what it means to be Greek Cypriot and Jamaican, but never quite feeling Greek or black enough. As he gets older, Michael's coming out is only the start of learning who he is and where he fits in. When he discovers the drag society, he finally finds where he belongs, and the Black Flamingo is born. Told with raw honesty, insight, and lyricism, this debut from acclaimed poet Dean Atta explores the layers of identity that make us who we are and allow us to shine. This book came out in 2020, I think. Yeah, copyright 2020, HarperCollins. I remember picking this up specifically because I heard Dean Atta was a poet, and while I personally don't enjoy poetry on its own often, mostly just because it goes over my head, I really enjoy Elizabeth Acevedo's work, and she writes in really lyrical, poetic methods, and so I thought I might like this, and then also just common themes that I enjoy. Alright, up next is... Can I get just one? Summer House with Swimming Pool. That one is by Herman Koch. I think. Yeah, there it is. I've had this on my TBR for a long time too. This I picked up at Half Price Books maybe like 5 years ago at this point. After I read The Dinner by the same author. Really enjoyed that. It's kind of a controversial book to pick. I feel like people either love that book or they hate it. This one says, when famous actor Ralph Meyer dies following a medical procedure gone horribly awry, his doctor, Mark Schlosser, needs to have convincing answers ready. After all, reputation is everything in this business. It all started the previous summer when Mark and his family agreed to spend a week with the Myers and a few of their friends at their extravagant summer home on the Mediterranean. Just as the group settles in for days of sunshine and relaxation, a violent incident disrupts the idle and darker motivations are exposed. As shocking realities unravel and it seems no one can be trusted, circumstances that surround Ralph's death months later become disturbingly tied to the summer house, and the vacation that had once been a dream soon develops into a living nightmare. That sounds great. I have wanted to read some more thrillers this year, and I've actually been kind of getting that itch lately, so this is a great one to pick. It also kind of has a similar setup to The Dinner, not in the setting, but just that same, like, a group of people is brought together because of a horrible thing that happened, and, like, what are they going to do about it? Alrighty, I think I've got just one. There we go. It's so hard to pick up this one. The next one says, ooh, Forged by Blood. This one, I think I have a physical copy of. I do. Here, this one's a fantasy book. This was actually sent to me by the publisher back in 2023, 22. Let's see, when did this come out? 2023. And I had intentions of reading it, but I knew that I was likely going to need the audiobook for this, so I'm going to look on Libby and see if my library has it. This is a Nigerian mythology inspired fantasy. It says, in the midst of an authoritarian regime and political invasion, Demi just wants to survive, to avoid the suspicions of the non-magical Ajas who occupy her ancestral homeland of Ife. To escape King Sorensen's brutal genocide of her people, the darker-skinned, magic-wielding Aluso, and to live peacefully with her secretive mother while learning to control the terrifying blood magic that is her birthright. There's more through the bottom half, but what I've discovered with fantasy books like this is that if you read past that first paragraph in the synopsis, you're likely going to find out things that you didn't necessarily need to find out in the synopsis. So, going to stop there. What a lovely stack so far. Okay. Let's see if we can get a romance out of this. I know I just told my friend the other day in a text that I want to read less romance. Not altogether, but just like to shift. Because that was one of my goals for this year. Oh, no. I'm going to attempt to show you what's on this piece of paper. It's one single word. The actual title is not this short. Can you see that? You see what that says? That says Priory. As in Priory of the Orange Tree. This massive ass door knocker of a book! I have been putting this book off for so long. I've picked it up a couple of times, have tried to start it, and I just struggle. But what I have behind me now is that I have read House of Earth and Blood, and I suffered through that. That was just pure suffering for 800 pages. And while this is a thick boy, it's floppy. And I just flopped it open, and that's 450 pages. So, like, it's not as... Oh, that still says 800 and something in the glossary. Oh, God. Oh, God. Okay. Well, that's 4. All right, one more. Lincoln in the Bardo. That is a George Saunders book? Yeah. I have never read anything by George Saunders, but I have wanted to. What is this about? February 1862. With the Civil War less than a year old, President Lincoln's beloved 11-year-old son Willie lies gravely ill. In a matter of days, Willie dies and is laid to rest in a Georgetown cemetery. Newspapers report that a grief-stricken Lincoln returns alone to the crypt several times to hold his boy's body. From the seat of historical truth, George Saunders spins an unforgettable story that breaks free of its realistic framework into a thrilling supernatural realm, deploying a kaleidoscope, theatrical panorama of voices, living and dead, historical and invented, to ask a timeless question. How do we live and love when we know everything we love must end? Wow. I have heard that George Saunders writes very weird litfic, but that, like, hits every time. And that it's just, like, high quality-ish. And, I need that. Oh, this looks like it's written in almost like a play? In parts of it? Interesting. I wonder if there's, like, a secondary story that runs through this. Alright. So, wish me luck on my TBR jar picks. My gosh. I won't lie, I'm a little scared. I think I can successfully finish 3 of these this month for sure. What I'm most worried about are the 2 fantasies. I think I can get through Forged by Blood by the end of the month, but I don't know about Priory. But I'm going to give it my damnedest. I'm going to try. What I hope happens with Priory is that I start it and then I just get so enthralled that I'm just churning through, 200 pages at a time like it's nothing. That's best case scenario, and that's what I hope happens. So yeah, wish me luck. And when we're doing March's wrap-up, hopefully all 5 of those are in it. Alrighty, you guys have a good one. I will see you in another video soon.